Hey, it's TDA, and today we're optimizing the trains of Railroute. Railroute has been around for a little while in early access, but it is releasing today and has a discount waiting for you of those who, like me, enjoy creating order in a complex system. Now, I'd like to thank the developers for sponsoring this video, because I can honestly say I really enjoyed playing Railroute, so I'm guessing many of you might like this game too. There is a story mode which is set in Prague, and the story mode is basically an elaborate tutorial, which works really well as it gives you some context to what you should be doing, and it is completely voiced with an experienced train planner showing you the ropes, but it's also a little bit slow to start. So what I'm going to do is something different. I am Dutch after all, so therefore I will be playing on the Amsterdam map. It's also worth noting that there is quite a few maps in the game, and there's different types of maps. So for example, you have Rush Hour, which is basically waves of trains coming in where you kind of optimize your rounds step by step, and you get a score depending on how well you did at the end. You might get 1, 2, or 3 stars, and there's different maps coming in every now and then. So for example, you can see over here there is a Rush Hour contest going that will end in 4 days. You can actually make your own maps as well. You can play on Endless, which is what I will be doing, which is just a huge map that you can kind of expand as much as you can and really get to the end game. And then there's the timetable map, which again is a scored map with a predefined timetable, so you can't just accept more trains as you go. You actually need to deal with the trains you get, and you need to make sure that you don't get any delays while doing so. However, like I said, I'll be playing on the kind of sandbox mode, I guess you could call it, which is the endless mode. For those of you that just want to play around with trains, you can also unlock infinite money and all upgrades and all tiers, but I'm going to progress through the game as intended. Okay, here we are on the map, and let me walk you through what you're looking at. So we have different stations with all kinds of tracks in between. These are stopping signals, so trains won't actually pass through here unless we turn them to green, and it will set a route, and it will allow a train to actually pass through. Now the trains will be arriving at this station. So for example, over here you can see there's a train waiting to be accepted here. It wants to arrive at the Belmar Arena platform 2, so that's this one over here, and after that it's actually going to visit several different stations. So now we have this train selected, you can actually see where it's going, and this one will be going to Duivendrecht, then to the Rye, and then to Zuid. I just realized this is going to be the most Dutch accent episode ever, but yeah, everything is in Dutch. You'll just need to deal with it. Then the train is going to back to the Rij, and then it's going to go back to Duivendrecht, and then to the Belmar Arena once again, and it's going to leave through platform 1. So it's actually going to arrive at platform 2 and leave through platform 1. Now I say this is what it will be doing. It's not going to do anything unless we help it to do so. Now we actually have a couple of other things that I will just quickly walk you through. We have a building manual that we'll get to in a moment. We can start researching upgrades, but in order to do that we need money, and we need successfully arrived trains. So we need to have trains arriving on time. This will give us certain currencies as well. And as you can see, there's a huge amount of stuff that we can unlock to automate our train organizing, basically. Then last but not least, we have contracts, which are active trains. So we already have a total of 7 contracts active, so that's quite a few actually. And then there's different contracts that will be offered to us then that will allow us to add more trains to the system. For now, let's actually see if we can deal with the trains that we already have. Now, the game runs on time, so of course, obviously, the trains are going to arrive at certain times. And you can actually pause the game, which is really, really useful, so you can avoid the trains getting into too big of a mess. But it's also very useful that you can speed up to 25 times normal speed, because sometimes there's not too much to do. You have everything organized and you're just waiting for a train to arrive and get going. Okie dokie, so let's have the train arrive at platform 2 over here, and let's unpause the game, and then let's see, it needs to go to Duivendrecht, which means we need to switch this thing so it can actually get past here. It actually needs to go to platform 2, so that's not a problem. It actually can go right through that. And after that, it needs to go to the right, which we will be able to do because there's pretty much no other way to get there. So that will handle itself. Now that means that this train is good to go, so we can signal that to green. We can speed up the time a little bit. After about 2 minutes, it will leave this station, or at least it will try to do that, assuming that there's a green light in front of it. And hopefully we will see the train going through. and arriving at the next platform. Now we probably have another train coming in here pretty soon. You can actually see that if you hover over the thing here. You can see we'll actually have a new train arriving in just a few minutes. And you need to make sure that there's no collision between trains. Now, because we know this one is actually going to continue on to this one, and then continue on to this one, we can actually already set all of this green because there's no other trains going to get in the way. And then we can speed things up a little bit. Now, we don't want to speed things up too much because in the meanwhile, we have a second train arriving here. And again, this is a train that wants to go to Duivendrecht, but this one actually wants to go to platform 3. So we need to set this like so. We actually need to switch this as well. There we go. And now it should be able to arrive over there. Now this train is actually going to turn around and go straight back to the Bijlmer. But it actually wants to arrive at platform 1 to go out. Now this is something you will typically see where trains are generally arriving through one platform and then leaving through another one. And if they're not, then you probably want to set them in such a way that they do so, because this allows you to kind of regulate the flow of traffic. I'm gonna pause the game here for a moment, or at least slow it down a little bit, because we actually need to reverse this train. And we can do this by right-clicking, like so. And then we need to switch this track to make sure we can actually reach the correct platform. And then it can leave and turn around. And we also need to keep an eye on this train here, because this will actually reach its final destination as well. And then again, we need to reverse the train and send it right back. Okay, now let's see. This train needs to go to the right, I think. Right? No? Yes. And then it needs to go back to Duivendrecht number 3. So that's the bottom one. So that should be fine like that. And after that, it goes to the arena once again. And that should be over here. So we can actually already set this entire route. Now, this is nice and all, but we will probably have another train arriving in the meanwhile. We actually managed to deliver this train completely successful. So we can set this to come back again, and then basically that train will arrive at the exact same time every hour after that. Now let me pause the game and check what we have over here. So we have again a train that's pretty much going to drive the same route. So we can set it to accept, we can set it to arrive there, and then we can also already switch this and have that go to over there, and then that should work all just well. Oh, actually, hold on. I never reversed this train, apparently. That's not a good thing. That train was just sitting there, and that's a problem, because now this train might actually cause a delay for this train over here. But maybe not. Maybe they will just be able to make it in time. It's actually going to be really, really close. So let me slow down. It has 15 seconds left, so switch the track over here. Have that one leave over there, and then we can speed back up, and that should be just in time. But we will get a few fines. As you can see, we actually lost some money over there just because that train was delayed more than it should have. Well, it shouldn't be delayed at all, but yeah, I guess you kind of get the point. Now this train actually wants to go straight back to Duivendrecht rather than going on to Zuid, so that means we need to have it flip around, and I just queued it up to reverse when it arrives. Now we have another train arriving here, and as you can see, this gets really chaotic really fast. And again, that train needs to go to platform 2 in Duivendrecht. Now, just with a few trains driving around, you can already see how hectic this can quickly become. And that means that you need to be on your toes to make sure that you don't get into any issues whatsoever when you're trying to keep your trains organized. Now, if you make a mistake like this, the system actually recognizes that, well, you had a train that had a significant delay, so you might want to do something about that. Obviously, that was just my mistake. I actually forgot to have it reversed at the end of the track. But yeah, it's something you definitely need to be aware of if you're running multiple trains, and we're going to be running dozens of trains at some point. Since we now have 5 green trains available to spend, we can start looking at some upgrades. Now, we're going to want all of this, pretty much, but for now, let's see. We have the auto-accept trains, so that means that trains will actually just get into our cities without us having to manually say, yes, you can come, which is going to be really convenient because, well, pretty much every train we we have arriving we want to actually accept, assuming we keep everything nice and organized. But I'm actually going to go for automatic routing first. This will allow us to set up some easier ways to get our trains from A to B. Now let's go into the build menu and select some of these auto signals. And then we can place one over here. We can probably place one over here as well, because we're sending out these trains to go there. We can probably also set one... I don't know. Where are we going to set this one? Over here, I guess? And then one over here, and then one more over here. And then I think we have all the trains set in directions where we need them to go. Now, we actually can go out of this menu and we need another train. So let's wait for one to arrive. We should have one coming in pretty soon. There we go. This one is going to arrive at the second arena, and then we can just say, okay, you need to go to this platform. And it will automatically set the switches for us to have it go exactly there. Now, once it arrives there, we can switch it around, and then we can say, hey, just go back. And again, it will simply set the switch for us. The next thing that I want to unlock is the auto-reverse of trains, because this is another quite important step in automating our train allocation, because this will allow us to automatically turn around trains that arrive at dead-end stations. So, for example, over here at Zuid, we have this dead-end station, and if we now check the programming of Zuid, over here you can see that it will not auto-accept trains just yet, because we haven't unlocked that yet, but it will auto-reverse trains that are on the dead-end station. So any train that will arrive here will then automatically flip around and start driving back in the other direction. So let's start taking the automation up a notch. Let's unlock the Perpetual Circuit. This is actually going to allow us to set routes from repeating themselves automatically, so we don't have to interfere with that. And in order to make sure that we actually can take advantage of that, I'm also going to unlock the platform adjustments. This will allow us to make changes into existing contracts in such a way that we can, well, decide where they are going, basically. Okay, so my goal for this next phase is very simple. I want every single train that we have to completely drive by itself without me having to interfere. Now, we only have some very basic automation options available to us, so we're going to have to be smart about that. Now, I've played around with this a little bit, and I think we can do exactly what I want if we have every single platform that we currently have only one job. So that means that, for example, trains that are arriving here should always be sent to the same destination. Now, over here, we have a couple of trains that are actually moving on to this platform over here. We have a couple of trains that are actually turning around and go back to the exiting platform. And then every single train that arrives at platform 1 over here will leave the station again. So that means that because I have trains arriving here that either need to go to a platform that continues on or a platform that turns back, I'm going to have to add in a platform both here and here. Now you can actually buy platforms, so that makes sense. So we go over here, buy platforms and blocks. We don't have any blocks to buy just yet, but we are going to unlock this second platform over here. Now this platform is going to be connected to the upper one over here, and this is going to be the reversing platform, and this is going to be the platform that allows trains to go back. So this is going to be connected up to this, and then that can go back. And then this is going to be connected up something like so. That also means that I can probably remove a couple of connections, because there's never going to be a train that goes into that direction. This train actually needs to go back and forth, so that's just fine. And it also means that I need to have a connection from this point on to this, so this train can actually pass through. Now, in order to make sure I know what I'm doing, I'm actually going to light up a couple of things like this. And basically these arrows are just going to serve as a reminder where trains are supposed to go. I can actually take out this as well, because this is going to be the reversing platform. And if you want to save some money, you can actually take out these as well, because these no longer serve a purpose. Actually, I'm not entirely sure. Do I need a stopping light here? I don't think I... Well, apparently I do, because there's a train on here. Okay, so that means I will need to reallocate a couple of trains in order to do that. But before I do that, let's see what we do with these stations over here. Because Again, we have a couple of trains that arrive at this platform and that move on to Zuid and then come back. But then we also have a couple of trains that actually arrive here and then go back. So that means that we also have trains arriving here that go in that direction. So I think that means that we need all three of these platforms, because we have one passing on, one going back, and then one reversing. So let's buy all three of these platforms. Then at the Zuid over here, we only have trains arriving that go straight back, so we don't need to buy any additional platforms over here. Let's see, how am I going to do this? We have, I think we'll do it like this. So we have these trains, let's see, we have trains coming here only from this direction, so we might as well make this connection like so. And then these are the ones that are going to go down here, I guess, something like this. And then they can reverse. We might actually want to do it like this, so make this line a little longer. That way there's less collision between these different areas and trains can stay on a designated track for this direction as long as possible. Then the trains are going to go back here, so that also means we no longer need this one. We also don't need this one, but we do need another arrow pointing in that direction. This is the reversing track, so we are going to have a arrow pointing that direction. And then this one is going to go something like, I don't know, like so, I guess. Actually, this is a problem, because that means that there's going to be trains that arrive here that need to pass on, and there's trains that are arriving here that need to turn around. So we do actually need another platform over here as well. Which in turn is a problem, because if we have trains that are going to go in this direction and in that direction, we actually need this platform as well. So that's a lot of platforms to get some simple automation going, but I think we have it covered. Let me figure out how to do this and get back to you. Okay, I think this should do the trick. So we have one line that goes all the way across to all the way to Zuid and then goes back. We have a secondary line that goes like this and then back, and we have a third line that goes to the dead end station over here and then turns back, and that covers it. Now obviously this is not the way you want to do it long term, because this puts a really tough load on what a platform is allowed to do, and that means we have no way of connecting anything else without messing up this system. But for now, let's actually have this work like intended. Now I actually removed most of the signaling stations as well, because right now any train that arrives here will have to go on. That means that we don't need any signaling stations over here, because, well, there's only one direction that the train can go in anyway. Now, in order to make sure that the trains are actually doing what we want them to do, I'm going to have to edit the contracts, because, of course, everything's now arriving at different stations. So let's see, this is the train that goes back. It drives all the way to the right and then it goes back. So that means it should be starting on the third track, like that. Then it needs to arrive at the secondary platform, so that is actually correct. Then it needs to arrive at the secondary platform over here. Then it needs to go back. It needs to arrive on the fourth platform over here. And then it needs to leave through the first platform again. Now, these changes actually don't change the schedule and or the rewards that we get from that, so that's fine. And that fixes the first contract. Now I'm going to go through all of them and then see if it works like we want it to. So actually I forgot one thing, because there is a turning back signal that we need to get fixed here. So in order to do that, what I'm actually going to do is I am not going to do this. I am going to build a signal over here, which I can't do now because, well, I just put in a train there, but we can do it by putting one over here. And then I'm going to make this a perpetual signal. So this is going to have a perpetual signal in this one as well. And then this is going to refer forever to this platform over here. Now, that will mean that as soon as a train passes over that, it will try to re-establish a connection there. And that is going to work just fine as soon as we have a secondary one pointing back to this platform. But in order to get that one going, Let's see, we will need to have this train arriving first. Oh, hold on. Then we need to have this one pointing over here. And then let's see if that works like intended. Now, as soon as this one leaves, let's see. Yeah, look, this one just reconnected again. So any train that now arrives here will instantly get sent back. And then as soon as it arrives over here, it will be able to be sent back to this platform as well. Now the same thing actually holds over here. So we have this train arriving and will get to this platform over here and then over here. So hold on, let's add another one of these signals to this place and another one over here. Then we are going to have to make that a perpetual signal as well. And then this signal, oh, that's not what I meant to do. This signal is going to perpetually point to this one over here. Now, if we speed things up a little bit again, let's see, this train should be arriving over there. There we go. And then it should be driving over there. And then again, I'm going to pause it and have this one point perpetually over here. Now, let's see actually, because this train over here is going to drive here, here, here. That's just fine. But then again, we have a signal problem over here. So again, putting in a signal over here, another signal over here. Let's turn that around. Make it perpetual, just to make sure it's always pointing in the right direction. I'm actually going to put in another signal over here, because if we make this perpetually point to this one, it might actually no, that's not going to get in the way, but we might have to do that elsewhere, because sometimes these things can actually conflict with each other, and that's going to cause us some real headaches. Well, it's working, sort of. The trains are automatically arriving, so that's one. We have the trains automatically going to their station, and then they are turning back correctly most of the time. Now, the problem is because some of these tracks are shared, I actually needed to put in additional stops in order for those trains to start driving, but as you can see, it will now stop here unless I tell it to move on. And if that happens to one of the trains that is actually coming from this direction, for example, this train over here, after a little while will turn back and it will try to run this switch. Now, it will actually still keep moving, so it won't stop, but you'll lose some money because it will run over the switch. I think it's a 500 money, dollar, whatever, fine, and that's not ideal. So we can probably avoid that by upgrading some relays. If you look at the upgrades, we have a relay sensor over here that does exactly what we wanted to. This is a signal that only allows you to connect to a single destination, but it won't activate until there's actually a train waiting in front of it. And I think that will do exactly what we need. Okay, so let me show you how this works. We have sensors over here, and as soon as the train passes over it, it will automatically set a destination for the signal that it is connected to. Now, once this train actually reverts, as you can see in a second, it will pass over this signal and that will flip the switch, hopefully. And there we go. We have the train completely automated now, and we also have the switches actually alternating now as intended. Now, let's see. Can we get another train coming in? There we go. This one will pass all the way through here, and then the same principle applies. It will just continue on. Once it reaches this sensor over here, it will switch this connection over here, and it will move to the station. And then once it returns, it will actually pass through several of these signals. So let me see if that actually works like I'm hoping it will. It's auto-reversing over here, so that works. Then it should pass on over here, it passes on over here, and then this is currently set wrong, so because another train just passed down here. But hopefully this signal should fix that, and there we go. We have it completely driving by itself. Now this train over here is going to do the same thing, and look at that, we have automated everything. And even though this is a fairly simple system, it's quite satisfying to see all these trains working like intended. In order to get access to the more complicated stuff that will allow us to add more trains on the tracks, make our trains drive faster and so on, we're actually going to need to unlock tier 2. Now we are going to unlock that if we can actually get 10 trains per cycle going. Now right now we are at 6, and that's because we only have 6 contracts up and running, so we're going to need some more contracts. The nice thing about having all these trains on the same track that are going to go into the same route means that we can accept contracts that pretty much do the same thing and just add more of those trains on the same track. So here you can actually see that problem, because I have a train here waiting to continue on because it couldn't actually make the route when this train was still in the way. So I actually have to manually reset it now. It will start arriving again, but of course I don't want to do anything manual at all. So let's speed up time. I think I can solve this problem once I get one more train. So let's go to the upgrades. We now have tier 2 unlocked. We have 10 trains running on time. And we now have the routing queue. If we unlock that, that means that whenever a signal is not able to make its route, it will actually queue up and then make it as soon as it's actually available. So the queue upgrade is actually causing me some issues because I have certain trains driving over these sensors that actually turn back. So the sensor is triggered twice, which queues up the route twice, but we only need to use it once. So as soon as the train has passed, the signal triggers again, or at least the queued signal triggers again, and then the route is remade once again. So the next time a train tries to pass from a different direction, the route is actually not created. Now luckily we can solve that with the next upgrade. I present to you the departure sensor, and this is actually going to only trigger when a train is departing a platform. So you actually build it on a platform, and then it will try to connect to whichever station the train is at that moment heading for. This is actually a smart sensor that recognizes where your train is intending to go. So I think that means that if I remove some of these sensors over here that are actually trying to move in multiple directions, or that are triggered twice when the train gets over that, I'm actually going to put a signal at the platform like this, and then we need to add a departure sensor to that platform like so, and then every time a train is trying to leave it, it will use this signal to then travel to the intended destination. Okay, so let's follow this train for a moment. It's going to arrive at this station, and it's going to turn around automatically, and then it's going to trigger the departure sensor, and yeah, as you can see, it's moving in the correct direction. That means that we have no more sensors that can be triggered twice and causing the next train to just stand there forever. That also means, because all my trains are now automated, that I can safely add some more to the tracks and get some more of these points going, because of course we do want more and more of these upgrades. Now, of course, we don't just have to work with these 4 stations, we can add some more to that as well. So if we go to the buying system, you can actually buy some new stations as well. For example, we could say, hey, let's buy something at Schiphol, which is the airport at Amsterdam, if you are familiar with that. Let's see. Let's buy one of those. We also are going to need to unlock some of these tunnels over here. Did I just buy that one? I wanted to buy the bottom one. There we go. Let's connect these up so we can actually travel from A to B like we want to. And I'm not entirely sure if we want to go to a different platform or not. Let's see. Let's build a station here as well so we can actually get some contracts for this. And then we only have to wait and we can see what the contracts tell us where we want to go. Okay, here we go. So we actually have a contract that needs to go all the way from Schiphol to Duivendrecht to the Belmer Arena. So that's actually all the way from one side of the map to the other. Now I think it might make sense to buy an additional platform for that and connect that up like so. And then we probably are going to do it like this. And let's see, let's have a signal over here. We're going to remove most of these because, well, we have trains only going into one direction anyway, so might as well do it like this. We're going to have a signal over here. It's going to flip like this. What else? We are going to have a signal over here to make sure this is going to go in that direction. We're going to put a sensor over here. We're going to connect that up to this. And then that's going to connect up in that direction. so that any train moving over here will move in that direction. That is assuming that the train is only going to go in one single direction, but for now that should not be a problem. Actually means that we don't necessarily need this. And we also don't need this because the train will only be moving in one direction. So let's go to the contract and see if that works like I think it does. So let's accept the contract. It's going to arrive at Schiphol, sure. And it's going to go to the south one. So this is platform 5, yes. It's actually going to go, well, it's actually programmed pretty well already. Are there any train issues? We do have an issue with too many trains all leaving through the Belmer area. Which we can probably solve by... Oh, actually that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to arrive later. That's what I wanted to do. Like so. This is cutting it really close, but I think that should work. Does it cause any issues anywhere else? It doesn't look like it. So let's have the train drive exactly like that. Oh man, I had one train running late and that caused a chaos in my system. That's at the moment kind of clearing itself out, so you see the remains of that chaos. But as you can see, there's a lot of trains waiting for each other to leave through this station. Now, actually, that's not a huge problem. Well, it's a huge problem. But it's something I don't mind too much because I'm actually going to redesign my entire system. Because I just unlocked the arrival sensor, and this is actually going to allow us to guide trains to different platforms depending on their actual destination. So that means that you can kind of combine certain tracks in a way to allow for easier guidance of trains between stations. Okay, there we go. I actually upgraded all my tracks to a faster version as well. And now all my stations have a dispatching sensors that allows them to be able to send wherever they need to go. And I also have all of these stations now set up with one of these arriving sensors that will allow them to send them to whichever platform they need to go. Now I have the top platforms over here to be the ongoing platforms, and the bottom platforms to be the ones that send them to the other direction. Basically, they're driving on the right side of the road. And as you can see, I have a whole lot of trains now driving around, and all of them are running on time. At least they're supposed to. They have some delays every now and then, as you can see, but that actually is caused by the fact that I upgraded my tracks. So they're actually a little bit faster than they need to be. But they are still, as you can see, arriving on time. So there are no penalties or anything like that being applied. Okay, so remember, this is only a handful of stations and about 20 contracts. Now imagine the pure chaos that you need to keep under control. You scale this thing up to the rest of the map, add different types of trains, and have even more complicated signaling going on. This game is hard, but extremely addicting if this is the type of game that you like. Now you can actually try out the demo for free, and the full game again is available today, so check it out. And if you're still here, you are awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.